Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Well, we made it. We're here. I can see that I'm live. I can see that the video's up. If you can hear me, let me know in the chat. I'll check quickly if I can hear me. Yep, I can hear me. Unlucky for you, I guess, but here I am. First show back, everybody. So thank you very much for having me. Check out the lighting. We're going to start working on some things and make sure that we're good. But the idea here is I want you to see the sunrise over my shoulder. This shoulder. There it comes. Right there. So I'm going to do my best to try and keep that sun behind me. And I may have to adjust myself a little bit later. But welcome, everybody. It's been a long time. December. Early December is when we were last online. We were doing shows from Ottawa and then came back to Alberta to do a couple more shows for the deliberations of the Public Order Emergency Conference. And then I went AWOL. I kind of vanished, didn't I? I was actually scheduled to be online, and then a minute before the show, canceled it. So I think I owe you guys a bit of an explanation around that one. Let me just go make sure my chats are up. And this is a new studio for me, and I'm playing around with some new software, and we're just getting ourselves started. So let me check this out. Oh, look at that. Padge says audio is good. Thank you very much, Padge. We know who that is. That's my wife. And good morning, Tammy. Welcome back. Thank you so much that all of you came back during my live stream on Friday. So many of you came back. Railroaded was there. Prairie was there. And look at this. Hi, Clay. Welcome back, buddy. There's my little polar bear and my coffees. So, Clay. Nice to see you, buddy. I missed you all so much. But yeah, what happened? Well, I came home and we had some things to take care of for the family. The 7 or so weeks of doing those all-day videos put me behind on a lot of things with the family. And, I have a really awesome wife. You guys met her a couple times and you've heard from her. And she provides a lot for our family. But we needed to support her as well. I kind of didn't give enough attention to the family and didn't make sure that all my duties were done because I was too focused on you guys. Again, sorry for the dark. I'm thinking I'm going to do something about that lighting in the coming days. But what ended up happening is I needed to focus on the family. We needed to bunker down, get ready for winter. One of the more important things was to try and make sure that we can sustain ourselves for the next few years as I'm taking on this journey as an independent candidate. It isn't cheap by any means, and we are not wealthy by any means. We're doing what we can, and we do okay. But I needed to focus on building some sort of income. So one of the things I did was I started writing some software. So I spent several months working on an application. I'll tell you more about it in the coming days because it's not quite ready to be showing off yet. But it's a bit of a response to Twitter, the verification, official stuff. The idea is around having the last place that you're going to go and register your username and have it connected to all of your social media. I'll get into that in a lot more detail soon. And I was also working on a book because I have this ambition to really make some change happen. And one of the ideas I have is around how we go ahead and witness this world. We're witnessing a lot of events. We're witnessing a lot of things that we never thought we would see. So I've wrote a book about witnessing events and how to record them, how to go about reporting them. We're definitely going to have an entire show about that book. But those are the two things where I spent a lot of my time over the last 4 months was writing software and writing a book. It allowed me to focus on those two things during the winter by not doing the show. And I did want to come back earlier, but I just didn't have the capacity. I wanted to come back to you guys with a commitment, not sporadic showing up. So I spent a lot of time over the last month working on this new show, making sure I can have the time for it. So here we are. So we're going to go ahead and give that a shot and see where we go. Now, as you know, my ambition is to win the Yellowhead riding federal election, whenever it is. It's on or before October 21st, 2025. And as part of that is the show. So my idea is to use this show to bring you the information that I can collect as a reporter, journalist, and to connect with people across Canada in order to spread the message of Unity. We need to correct some, or at least I'm going to be careful with the word correct. We need to address a lot of issues in Canada, and it's on the federal level, and that's definitely where I think I can add some value. So I'm focusing heavily on making sure that the next 2 years I am capable of being able to be a candidate without jeopardizing and causing unnecessary stress for my family. So we spent as a family 4 months getting this all ready, making sure I can have the time, making sure the family's prepared, and here we are. So I know it's dark. I can kind of see as the sun is rising. My idea was you'd see me fine, but the sun would be coming up over here. But as you can see, it's right behind my head, so I'm going to have to do something about that. But for now, I want to introduce you to the show. So the new show we have, it's the morning show. We're going to be starting at 6 a.m. Mountain Time, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. My idea there for such an early show is, well, some of us are early birds. We do like to get up. We do like to have a coffee, like Clay here and Tammy here. And we do want to get a fresh start on the day. I'm not a loud show. So we have another early morning show called Louder with Crowder. And he starts at 8 Mountain, 10 o'clock Eastern. So my idea here is if you're a Crowder fan and you're into that, you can watch us before. You can then go into him and get a lot more energy and his loud nature on his show. Also, I want to be part of your morning drive. So if you're in the eastern part of Canada, you're in the Toronto area, you're on your way to work right now, you're on the 401, you're on the Gardner, you're on the QEW, you're making your way all over the GTA. Well, hopefully you'll tune into the show and you'll be able to check out what we got to say live, and then you'll have a fresh start to your day. For everybody else who's not an early bird, you can replay. You can replay. The only thing that you're going to miss out on would be the live chat. So if you want to be part of that live chat, get your morning coffee, get up with me, and we'll start the day. And also, I wanted to have family time. So when we finish the show at 8, the boys are waking up, and then I can continue with the rest of my day. So thank you very much. And if this morning format doesn't work, we can adjust. But so far, I'm an early bird, so I'll be here. So the new format is going to be as simply as this. I am hanging out, and from time to time, we will have guests. I've set up a seat for guests on the other side of this, and I can also do remote guests like we did last time. And what we will do is bring you as much of the information about politics, news, and agendas, ideology, globalism. I'll be careful of some of the words I use because I do need to stay YouTube safe. That's not a battle I'm prepared to take on. My mission is to reach as many people as possible, and that will mean I have to play within the limits of YouTube. I am on Rumble as well, LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook and Twitter as well. We're streaming to all those platforms. So if you're in Twitter, thank you very much for joining us. It's great to see you. And Facebook, another place that's growing very fast for us. A lot of people in our neighborhood are in there. So nice to see you all there. But we're not going to shy away from important and difficult subjects. What we're going to do is do our best to give you the information and have the conversations in an intelligent way where we can really have in-depth conversations. We can get through to what we need to talk about without violating YouTube's archaic, arbitrary rules that change all the time. There's other shows like Louder with Crowder, which will push the limit, and they will exclude YouTube viewers from some of the messaging because they're pushing the limit. That's wonderful. I think shows should absolutely keep doing that. But for this show, we need a massive reach. We need to reach everybody. So we're going to be, we'll be close to the line, but I don't think you're going to find anything here that you need to shut off if you have kids in the room. I have young kids. I love them to watch the show. So these are kind of the boundaries that we're living in within this particular show. But I hope that doesn't discourage you, because we can still have hard conversations and talk about the really important stuff. And thank you for the coffee, Tammy. I'm really enjoying it. All right. So that's kind of the beginning of this new show and what we've been doing for the last 4 months. And I'm just checking my notes. So A lot of you tuned in for the POEC, and I've been very silent about it. That's because I am not happy. I was there, I covered every minute of it. Very quickly, I started to understand that justice is not going to be coming around on this one. Before the report came out, I was getting some preliminary information that, yeah, there's going to be nothing coming around. Um, what are you going to do, right? And that's why I was getting mad. So I started to get quite frustrated. I started to get blackpilled because even, the conservative side of things, they weren't pushing anything. You weren't getting Pierre bringing up any of the inconsistencies in the POEC. They weren't even touching that one. They were working on one internally, but even that went nowhere. I truly don't think that our government can ever give us a true inquiry when it's on them for them. It's just not possible. So the citizens inquiry for the COVID stuff is definitely the direction we have to go, because you can't get a fair trial. You can't get a fair inquiry. You can't get a fair anything when one of the parties are the ones that control the selection of the adjudicator and all that. I can see them getting really dark as the sun's starting to come up. So I truly apologize, folks. This is going to be more of an audio show today. But anyways, if you want to check me out while we're doing that, that's cool too. So back to the POEC and the black pilling. I didn't see a push from our side at all. It was just people like us who were getting together to talk about it. Azario was great, all that kind of stuff, but nobody in the media, speaking of Azario, there he is. Nobody in the media was really tackling the issue at all. We saw Trudeau lie to us. He said, I didn't name call anybody, the unvaccinated. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. So for me, I was getting blackpilled. I wasn't really enjoying the fact that we were not taking this issue seriously. I wasn't really relying on the media, but I was really hoping that more people would be able to step up. And I am sorry, folks, that sun is starting to come in pretty good, and I'm getting very, very dark. So apologies, but we will fix that for the next show. I'll just have to turn another direction. So back to the POEC. So the reports coming out were very non-actionable. They weren't going to do anything. So back to the public order emergency conference and why I don't think it was successful, because it has to be citizen-based, 100%. Preston Manning has the right idea for the COVID thing. So you set up a citizen inquiry and you run with it. But the challenge is there's no subpoena power. There's no compelling of witnesses. There's no consequences for perjury. There's no real investigatory powers. You can't really do much. You're just relying on people showing up and being part of the inquiry. I applied to be part of that inquiry as a commissioner. I went through some of the stuff that they were offering, and it's a wonderful start. Okay, so I think what Preston Mann is doing here is a wonderful start, but still doesn't have enough oomph behind it. Boy, that's sorry, folks. That sun is right there, and it's really dark for me. So it will pass soon. Anyways, back to Preston Manning. He is doing the right thing, but we need to find a way to get subpoena power and additional inquiry tools. So we need to push for a citizen-based inquiry statute in order to establish the framework for this. So we do have a public inquiry statute, but it has very limited powers. It doesn't allow subpoena. It doesn't allow it to be citizen-driven. So that's one of the things that we certainly can start looking at improving in the next legislature, to push through some sort of true inquiry process. But we need new people in there for that. There's no way we're going to get this out of, well, for sure, the Liberal Party. But I'm concerned that even the Conservative Party is not on that kind of bandwagon to go ahead and push forward for reform in that way. You don't hear them really getting behind Preston Manning and supporting that endeavor. So I'm not sure that the Conservative Party is even putting that on their radar. We got a lot to talk about with the Conservative Party over the next week, because again, I'm being blackpilled because I'm not feeling like we're getting anywhere with this with Pierre at this point. But we'll get into that one a lot more in a little bit. The POEC was a lot of fun. So I'm just checking my notes here. The POC was a lot of fun in that I got to connect with you guys, got to get familiar with getting on YouTube and doing the streaming stuff. However, that format wasn't going to work long term because that's a full day. We need to find something that we have to stream. So the idea of making a morning show, irregardless of what's going on, was a commitment I had to make in order to keep something going properly for you all. So don't be shy. You can also leave me comments and let me know what you would like to hear in the morning as we're working out this new format. I do have assistants now. So I have a gentleman, his name's Ali, who's working with me. And Ali, I'm sure you're listening. And yeah, Ali, I know you're probably freaking out because of the lighting. So I will definitely be changing that. I do have some options. So I will be changing that. But for now, look, this is what we're going to have to do as that sun is rising right behind my head. And Ali's been wonderful. He's a graphic designer and he's working on helping me make the show. So let me share with you some of the stuff we worked on. So first of all, I'm going to say thank you, Ali. There you are. That's one graphic you created yesterday. So we'll be doing some of these things where we're at least doing some graphics on the screen. We're trying to keep your attention and try and communicate with you. And of course, if you can leave your comment down below, do all that kind of stuff, I'd be happy to read them and get back to you. And we will, of course, continue to bring chats into the stream. So if you're on Facebook, I believe if you're in Discord and you're on YouTube, the chats will come in and I can respond to them. And when we have a special announcement, we'll have a special announcement. And of course, we'll have breaking news. So from time to time, something will come in and we'll go ahead and talk about it. Now, here's some fun. What this is it Trudeau? This segment is meant to check out false information, misinformation, disinformation, try and figure out what is coming out of our government. Is it Trudeau? Sometimes they tell us stuff. Well, a lot of times they tell us stuff, and we have no idea if it's Trudeau. So we'll be tackling some of those. And of course, when we have guests, we'll have a special guest. They're all special to us, so we'll make sure that we can highlight them. We're going to get into this a lot more, I think, tomorrow. Let me check the schedule. Yeah, tomorrow. So I'm going to go over my book. It's called Bearing Witness. It's going to be on Amazon in the coming weeks. Just on the last little edits, I got some people reviewing to make sure I'm not full of fake information. But again, it's a book about how to become a witness in a modern society and how to use the tool of witnessing to combat anything that you don't like. Storytime hour. Go and witness it and then report it. This is what the book's about, and we will certainly get into it in the coming days. Justin on Justin. So when there's breaking news on our fearless leader, when something's breaking for him, we're going to be checking out what he's doing. He's got a lot of things under his belt right now. The Chinese involvement with the election. We had to kick out diplomat, the Chinese police stations. There's quite a bit going on with him right now. So when there's something coming in for this guy, it'll be Justin on Justin. And then, of course, please do your like and subscribe. Don't forget to give us some thumbs up. All of that helps get the message out to new people. Hopefully, they're a lot more accommodating about this black darkness than I am. I'm kind of getting annoyed that I can't see, but thank you all for sticking around. I can see that you're still here. So thank you for that. So thank you, Ali, for getting us started on these graphics. This is just the beginning. We definitely want to have a show that's engaging and exciting for you, get you to keep coming back and have you share it with a lot of people. Again, apologies for that lighting. So let's go back to chat. Oh my gosh, John is back. Oh my. Hi, bud. So John is out in Ontario. He's a big supporter. He's been watching the show for a while. Turn on the light in your trailer so we can see your plain body armor. Plaid body. Sorry, John. I didn't anticipate the lighting to be so bad. Give me half an hour. It should move out of the way. But for tomorrow's show, I will be adjusting myself to have the light in front of me. Now that we see how bright it can be in the morning from that east, the Alberta sunrise, I'll be adjusting myself. So apologies, John, but thanks for the tip. Oh, and there's Ali. So yeah, Ali, thank you very much, my friend. We've grown to spend a lot of time together. Ali's been doing really late nights. He's been working so hard to get us some videos and to make some promos and to do the graphics. So I'm incredibly happy that Ali has joined the team. And yeah, you're going to see his handiwork everywhere. So thank you, Ali. We really do appreciate it. And oh, Eleanor's back. Eleanor's back. Nice to see you. So happy that you're all coming back. I'm glad that you're here to hear me, but you're not gonna be able to see me very well today, Eleanor. But you'll definitely hear me. So thank you for coming back, and let me know how things are going. And Azario, way to go, Ellie. Yeah, Azario. So Azario, we're going to talk about other ways for you to help as well. The co-hosting, you were amazing for it. So we're going to get back into that if you have some time. We'll have you as a guest and maybe talk about some tech stuff in the back that you can maybe help out with as things are growing. And then Ali, thank you for your kind words. Well, Ali, you earned them. Okay, so those aren't kind words. Those are just the truth. You're working super hard. You're going to find the truth on this show. So I'm glad you appreciate it. But you certainly earned it. Thanks, bud. All righty. So let me go through my notes again. So we had the journey. We're doing a new format and daily segments. So each show, I'm going to do my best to pull out some news for Alberta, Canada, and the world. And of course, the top news right now in Alberta, other than the Oilers losing last night, are the wildfires. They're all over the place and they are not far from me. I am about 50 kilometers southeast of Drayton Valley, and Drayton Valley is where one of the larger fires are. That's also where evacuations have taken place, and we are honored and blessed enough to be able to open our home to a family. So we do have a family of 7 who joined us the day after the evacuation. The first night, it was very late. They grabbed a few things. They thought they were only going to be away for a few days. That's what the evacuation order, said. And then they came over to our place the very next day, and they've been here ever since. They've been wonderful guests. They've been wonderful to have. We're so pleased to have these people in our lives. The first few days, we're getting to know each other. Now we're family. We're family. These people and us, you're going to meet them one day. Lovely people. And one of them is a bit of a TikTok, Instagram fitness guru. So we'll have her on and we'll introduce you to her and you'll get to know these people. Very brave people. I can't imagine what it would be like to have to pack up with short notice, everything you left behind. Grab your pets, grab your parents, grab your children, and go. They did that, and so did 7,000 other people in Drayton Valley area. Total of 29,000 people across Alberta did that evacuation, and I am so impressed at how strong these people are and how they're handling this. I don't know if I could be that strong. Having to leave everything you just built, that would be very difficult. But they done it. They're doing very well. They're striving, and they can't wait to get back home. So what we're doing is we've reached out to Drayton Valley, the officials out there. We've asked if we can get access to the area. We want to go and see some of the destruction. If there's a lot of false rumors, or there's rumors out there about how bad the fire has been in Drayton, so we want to go check it out and just get some answers, because with misinformation and disinformation floating around, people don't know what's really going on. For example, there was a rumor that one piece of the town burnt down, the southeast corner, where there's a Tim Hortons and a Ramada. Very early, there was rumor that burnt down. However, when we were there at the press conference, we checked in, and no, there was nothing burnt down north of the 22, which would include that. So there's an example of some misinformation is going around. Another one would be from time to time on Facebook, that people will post, you can go back in. So then they'll get a rush of people going to the checkpoints trying to get back in. And again, that's disinformation. That would be disinformation because it's intentionally false. Misinformation is when it's false, but disinformation is when it's intentionally false. So we've been getting a lot of that. So I've contacted the county. We're on the press list, and we're working out trying to get access to the area, maybe escorted, to try and bring you some more of that news. But currently, the evacuation order has stayed in. They are working on plans to bring people back, but the last piece of information was it's a 42-kilometer long front of the fire. The fire is also burning underground. There's a lot of moss, and it was very dry this winter. And then the fire's popping up all over the place. So it makes it very, very difficult to fight. Um, there doesn't seem to be any smoke. There hasn't been smoke that we could see for days now, at least maybe a week now. The first few days, very, very thick smoke in the skies, but not now anymore. So because of that, that's causing a lot of people to wonder, is it really a fire or what's going on? By being at the press conference on Friday, yeah, there's a fire, and they explained how dangerous the underground burning is because it will burn out the roots, and then the tree can fall down or will fall down when the roots are burnt out, and this makes it incredibly dangerous for the firefighters out there. So we'll have some patience. Last check, it was 62% contained, but the biggest challenge was the underground fires and how quickly that those move. And my internet connection died, which would be unfortunate. Let me just check this. I think we're back. I think we're back. Let me take a look here. Again, we have that Starlink, so every once in a while we might get a drop, and it's not usually bad at all. But looks like we're back. Okay. Yep, we're back. Apologies, folks, but welcome to off-grid streaming. Yeah, we're totally off-grid. We have no connection to any wires. That would be internet or electricity. So we generate our own electricity, and we use Starlink to get to stream to you. So thank you for that. John, I see here you did make a note about the lighting. The lighting issue, simply growing pains for what will be a go-to podcast for real Canadians by real Canadians. It doesn't get better than this. John, you know what? I will be sending you another check. You're amazing, John. Thanks for all that encouragement. I definitely do feel like I have the energy and the desire to continue to do this. So feed me back all the information or the feedback and comments you can give me, and I'd be happy to take a look at improving the show. That's definitely what I want to do. It's going to be a 2-hour show, so I'm going to be spending a lot of time on trying to gather information and do my best to put it into 2 hours. And thank you, John, for that. Eleanor, Alberta's the best when helping each other. Thanks, Levinsky Rock. Oh, it was our pleasure. Like, this is a joy for us to be able to do that. We're not wealthy people. We're working hard at providing for ourselves. We're a family of 4, so adding 7 more was definitely um, not a challenge. I'm not going to say a challenge for us. I think we handled it quite well. But we have to do other things, like we have to keep our septic going, and we're using a lot more of that. And I can see we're losing Ray. Ray's off to work right now. So Ray is the patriarch of the family, and he works just around the corner. So we'll say bye to him. Bye, Ray. But thank you, Eleanor. I do appreciate that. And then Padge, I think that's because our internet came back. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. All right, folks. So back to the fire. Yeah, so there's a bit of a rumor that there may be starting to make or not evacuation returning plans now. So I spoke to the fire chief on Friday. Their biggest stopping block right now was the hospital and the infrastructure, and making sure that they can bring it all back up before they bring people back. But he was very, very concerned about the fire that was still at the south. It could change at any point, and with the heat wave that we're having now, it's just drying things out and making it more difficult to fight that fire. So they definitely have their work cut out for them. Um, God willing, there's no injuries. We've been very fortunate, I think, across all of Alberta that we've had no fatalities. In the Drayton Valley area, we've lost 4 to 6 structures, but those are residential homes. Those are very important. But if you were around for the Fort McMurray, no, that's wrong. If you were around for the other wildfires, they took out the entire town. So 4 to 6 residential buildings is sad to lose, but we lost no lives, and we'll rebuild. This is what Alberta does. Um, but I also got some information from our local fire chief, not fire chief, local firefighter in Breton, and that's what started the Buck Creek fire. So Buck Creek fire is the one that went towards Drayton Valley, that started just west of where I am. So I'm in between Buck Creek and Breton, so it was not far from here. It was a lawnmower, a spark from a lawnmower, likely a rock or something like that, as the lawn was being cut, and that sparked the fire. That I'm gonna be careful. That's what likely started the fire. That's what they think started the fire. There will be an investigation after the fact. Chief Tom Thompson of Drayton Valley confirmed that they will be investigating all of these to see what the starting origins were. However, it looks like the Buck Creek one might have been a lawnmower. So that means when it's dry, you be very careful. Even when there's a fire ban, take the extra precaution. I was told one of the fires south of Drayton started by a bale of hay being moved, and some of the hay hit the exhaust of the tractor, and that was enough to ignite and start some fire. So everybody be careful out there when there's a fire ban. Do your best to do nothing that can cause a spark or exhaust, cause another fire. But it's so bright out here. It's so dry out here right now. Eleanor. Oh, Matt. Hello, Matt. It was Fort Mac. Yeah, I visited 6 months for okay. So Fort McMurray. Yeah, and it burnt down pretty much, right, Matt? So thanks for bud. Um, sorry, guys. That lighting is distracting me so much that it's causing me to think about it, but I'll do my best to ignore it. So other than the wildfires in Alberta, we also have the election coming up. I have plans to do an entire day on the Alberta election. Right now, if you listen to the polls, they're calling it pretty close. They're suggesting that the NDP is starting to move ahead or has moved ahead. But as we know, the polls are run by the media, and the media has agendas. And in this particular province, the agenda is against the Conservative Party, United Conservative Party of Alberta. So you can expect it to really be NDP leaning. Oh, you can see Ray just driving away right there. Bye, Ray. But I'll have a whole segment on that. I got a lot of information I want to bring to you about Notley. I want to talk about Danielle. I am a Danielle supporter, but I'm not a Danielle advocate. Danielle is definitely the better choice of the two. But as you're going to see as we move along with this as well, we're going to be critiquing Danielle as well. Because critiques are meant to assist and to expose and to find out or to share at least our true opinion. We don't fanboy anything here. We're not going to be jumping on the bandwagon of somebody because we want them to win. We're going to be very honest about it. And Danielle, she's got a lot of pros, but she does have some cons. So we'll be covering that as well. And I tried, but her office doesn't return requests. So I'm going to keep trying to maybe speak to her. I definitely have some topics I want to talk to her about, mainly around globalism, WEF, our involvement with them, Alberta Health Services. We need to talk to Danielle. So if there's anybody that can get the message to her office, let's talk. Okay. You're on Western Standard. You're on some other shows. I'm happy to chat with you. I do like what you say you're going to do. So I want to talk to you about doing what you say you're going to do. So you can expect an entire show on that coming up on, let me check, Thursday. So I'm getting myself ready to really bring you the Alberta election. On Tuesday, as I mentioned earlier, I'll be talking about my book. I'm not really trying to push it for you guys to buy it, but of course that would be lovely because that is part of my plan to sustain and support myself is to write some books and do some things around that. But more importantly than that is the topic about bearing witness. I want saying I want to do something about our current issues is an understatement. I'm running for office. I definitely want to do something. I want to do more. I'm not happy that we have a preacher who was in Calgary who was protesting an event at a library with children, and he's been arrested and he's been charged and he has legal issues when he's shedding light properly where it needs to be. But the challenge, though, is, and this is a conversation I have with a lot of people um, at my church, is what to do when you enter the legal system, and how do innocent people end up in trouble in the legal system. So, for example, this preacher preaching um, his beliefs, and very supported beliefs that this kind of activity is inappropriate for children, and we really should be standing up for them. I agree. I agree. But what you got to be very careful of is getting touched by the legal system. You can get yourself into a whole world of trouble just by being involved in the legal system on the wrong side. So accused of, or you're a perpetrator of, or the city drops a new rule, like you can't protest within certain feet or meters of an area. You got to learn how to not become the story, how not to become a party to the events. I think that one of the approaches is to be a witness. So forever, witnesses are the historians, they're the biographers, they're the journalists, they're the ones who are there to watch the event, record the event, and report the event. And I think this is what we need to spend a lot of time on. We need to have a lot more witnesses. If we could have people who go to these events, they're not there to protest, they're not there to throw stones, that's what I mean. Um, they're there to witness, record, and report. I believe we can then start working together to do things like private prosecution. If we are witnessing events, they are credible witnesses, and the events were recorded well. And if you read the book, you'll find some tips on how to use your mobile phone, and what things you should be recording, and how to report it back to authorities. I think we can get a bit of a movement going around witnessing. I know that people who do bad things do not want witnesses around. I know that, there's this whole mentality of that witnesses get stitches, or snitches get stitches, or witnesses shouldn't be talking. That's because they have all the power. The reason why people want to silence witnesses are pretty obvious. Witnesses are the ones who can tell the truth, or the truth that they saw. So I would like to try and empower people to be less afraid to be a witness. I would like them to understand that they have the power with that. And if we can, without using force, if we were asked to leave, you got to leave. If you're allowed to be there, you're allowed to be there. But if we get witnesses at all these events that are really frustrating us, that we think are inappropriate, lewd, there shouldn't be children involved, um, I absolutely believe that we can start making some big steps forward. Imagine what they would feel like if they know 12 or 13 or 14 witnesses say they're going to be showing up to these events, and wonder how they're going to stop a witness from showing up to an event. Witnesses are nonverbal, they're non-confrontational, they don't provide any biases, they don't show their opinions, they're there to record. Um, Witnesses really are the truth. So what I would like to see is people becoming better witnesses, how they can do it, and if we can collectively start really making a movement around that, I'm certain that the Crown Attorney's office can't ignore certain issues if they are illegal, and we definitely need to address them. So tomorrow's show is going to be about the book. I'll take you through some of the chapters, and we'll go over the idea of it. And if you have some comments, this is going to be the last week to get them in before it gets printed. So we'll spend some time on that tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, I've titled this one "Enough Already," because this is leading into where I'm at. I'm like black pilled at this point. I'm frustrated with all political parties. I'm frustrated with the rhetoric from all political parties. And I really want to ignite the idea that an independent candidate, whether you're independent in the party or separate from a party, is the future of our political system. We need modern political candidates. We need people that are going to listen to the people that they represent, and not the party that they're a part of. I've gotten into this a little bit before, where uh, I believe democracy dies at the party whip. Simply put, it dies at the party whip, because that means their purpose, that their job is to get people in line, to get them to follow. And if these people you're getting in line and to follow are the representatives of the people, well, then you're really whipping the people. You're whipping the people. You're not whipping the MP. You're whipping the people because that's who is represented by that MP. So I've got some ideas around what I call the modern party, and this is a it's a party. You're still a party, but you have no whip and you have no forced party platform. You have inter-party debates, and you bring forward all issues. For example, in Alberta, we definitely have the energy issue, and we have employment issue, and we have an independence issue. These are things that we're working on that's uniquely Alberta. However, they're not national stage issues. So when you have the Conservative Party putting together a platform, they're focused on national stage issues, especially things that attract the Ontario, Quebec voters. So if you're in the West or you're in the far east of Canada, you are really underrepresented, especially if you're in the North too. Oh my gosh, you are heavily unrepresented. And the only way that I can see, and I definitely could be very wrong in this, but the only way I can see is we got to eliminate the national party platform and get the parties to be modernized so that they do represent the local interests as well. I know it's hard if you're listening from the party. I know it's hard, but that's what we need. We don't need parties that take the easy road. We need parties that actually fight for us and work hard for us. So that means having a bunch of members that disagree, but you can still work on the issues. That will mean tackling local issues and not necessarily national issues. That would mean being very public about what Alberta needs or what Nova Scotia needs and not just focus on only Ontario and Quebec. Um, so I have some ideas around that, and I'm going to share that with you. I was going to save some more of that for. So Wednesday's show is called Enough Already, where I think both parties need some reform, or all parties need some reform. Thursdays shows all about the Alberta election, and then Friday is more about the federal candidacy that I'm doing. So when we get to that show, I'm going to go into a lot more detail, but I've been giving it a lot of thought, and I think I'm going to challenge Gerald Sikora sooner than the federal election. The Conservative Party has a process where if you want to be the nominee, you can put yourself forward. You got to join the party. You got to be part of the party for 6 months in good standing. I joined about a month ago, Conservative Party of Canada, and you got to find 25 active members to support you, and then you can challenge a seat before the election. So my goal there is, of course, to take the seat from Gerald either during the general or during a candidacy nomination selection. I'm going to do both. Okay. So I'm preparing as we speak right now to challenge Gerald in the party. I'm going to bring myself forward as a candidate. I'm going to work hard at making them understand that they need to modernize and they need to have independent conservatives. That's what I would be calling myself, an independent conservative member. And I think I'm going to do my darndest to convince party members that the way forward to have a stronger party against the Liberals going forward for terms would be to modernize a party. I'll show them what it could look like. I'll talk to them about why it would work, in my opinion. I'll challenge their whip idea, and maybe we can get that over and done with. But more importantly, I think the independent candidate who will represent the riding is by far the best choice for the parties anyways. So I'll bring that forward to them. It will be a challenge. This is another one of those tough hills to climb, but that's not a deterrent to me. It's never been. So I'm going to try that. It gives us something to do. It gets us campaigning earlier because we're basically campaigning within the party. I'll be out there meeting people, Conservative Party members. If there's anybody watching, especially in the Yellowhead riding, hit me up. Let's chat. Let's figure out how we can strengthen the Conservative Party in Alberta on a federal level. I'm sick and tired, to be honest, of being a backbencher. Gerald's a really nice guy. That's kind of the problem. He's not the one that we can turn to for leadership, for strength, and for action. Um, Look, I want to support all people who get into politics because it's a very, very tough life, and it's not necessarily rewarding. So I respect Gerald tremendously for doing 40 plus years of hard work. However, I think the times have changed. I think times need a far more aggressive approach. It needs a louder approach. It needs somebody that goes in there and can articulate and argue with the best of them. And I would like to offer myself up for Yellowhead as somebody who fits that bill. And Gerald, I'm looking forward to chatting with you some more. And maybe this is a mutual thing, maybe not. But at the end of the day, I'm going to put myself forward as fast as I can in front of the Conservative Party of Canada to go ahead and become a nominee for the seat and go through the process of campaigning for it. So that's just a rough idea that I'm sharing with you a little bit early, but Friday's show, I'll get into very in depth about exactly how I'm planning to do that. How am I going to campaign from a fifth wheel trailer off grid in the middle of Alberta? I've got some ideas, and you're all part of that. This show is part of that. Oh, wow. Look at the chat. It's exploded. So, John, let's hope the lawnmower or bale of hay angle doesn't become another Liberal convoy. Yeah. There's a lot of those problems and worries too here, John. And I can see the lighting's getting better as the sun's rising. So hopefully that will work. But John, this is why I want to get in there. Okay. I contacted the county. I contacted the press office. They say they're not letting anybody in. And I've been watching CBC and stuff like that. And yeah, sure enough, you're not seeing them inside Drayton. But I want to get in there. There's a lot of misinformation and disinformation and unknowns, John. So, you know, witnessing will shed light on that, right? So let us go witness it. I'll bring my camera and we'll talk. Eleanor, what can we do if the Constitution is not for the people but for the ruling? One by one, we got to get them out, Eleanor. We got to get people in who isn't part of the old system. This is why I'm part of the Black Pill Club right now, Eleanor, because I'm not sure that the Conservative Party really is an opposition to the Liberal Party. The current Conservative Party is not really opposition to the Liberal Party. It's a duopoly. We have two monopolies. And they also have mutually assured destruction agreements in place because they don't want to be, non-political party. So they don't really attack each other vigorously enough. For my liking, that's for sure. And we saw that during the POEC itself. Pierre wasn't around. They applied to become a party to it. They were denied, and that was like the end of it for them. I'm not impressed with that. I want to hear a lot more pushback. I want them to have a lot more questions. I want them to use MP power to go ahead and get us some of the answers. So I think one by one, Eleanor, we got to replace them. I think the West is where this can come from. So Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta. Don't think BC is really interested in helping Canada on a federal political level, but I'm spending some more time with one guy out there, so we'll see if I'm wrong about that. I'd like to see BC to also be in the same ballpark as Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba when it comes to fighting Ottawa, fighting Ontario. It's not that we have to fight them. It's just that they have all the power and they have all the attention and they have all the initiative to make sure that they're taken care of. And we do see in the West, now that I'm living here, there's quite the prejudice from the Ontario Golden Horseshoe corridor. And I can tell the people in Ontario, you don't need to do that. Okay. The people out here in Alberta are awesome, very willing to work with you. And also to my friends in Alberta, you don't have to hate them. A lot of people out there are just following what the media says. The people there themselves are pretty good. But Eleanor, it's an excellent question, and we're going to go into a lot more detail on Friday. So I'll make sure I bring that question forward. Thanks, Eleanor. And John again, Danielle should be talking to you, Jace. I think so. Not that I think I deserve her attention. It's that I definitely have some ideas for her. Whether she disregards them or not, I think she should hear them. One of them that I sent to her office that got ignored was paralegals in Alberta. So we have paralegals in Ontario. I am one of them. And Ontario is one of the few, if not the only, and the last time I checked was the only jurisdiction that regulates and licenses and educates their paralegals. Everywhere else, a paralegal is basically a legal assistant. But in Ontario, no, we had to go to law school. We had to pass 2 years of schooling instead of 4 years for a lawyer. You had 2 years. It was on all the same things that lawyers get educated on, with the exception of articling. So we didn't have to do articling, and the major criminal and estate planning and certain parts of the legal system was out of bounds for paralegals, but we could tackle basically everything else. Alberta has a legal aid issue, so the funding for legal aid is low. It's expensive, and it's not I think working at its best. So I reached out to Danielle's office and I suggested, hey, copy Ontario's paralegal system and bring it over to Alberta, and maybe we can lower the cost of legal services for Albertans and lower the cost on the legal aid system, because a lot of the legal aid can be handled by paralegals and then the more serious stuff handled by the lawyers. No response. I also think that we can be one of the first jurisdictions that I don't want to use the word mandatory, but when you are in a car accident and you're injured, they don't really ask you if you want paramedic. Okay, they call paramedic, and the paramedic's job is to come and address your medical needs and make sure that in an emergency situation, your medical needs are addressed. That's lovely. I like that. We don't do that for legal. We don't do that for legal. I've been spending a lot of time watching police audit videos. So videos where the police are being audited, their actions are being audited. And the general theme that I'm seeing in all of these is they put the citizen in a very precarious situation on making legal decisions at the wrong time, and they have to stand by those legal decisions. Let me give you an example. So, impaired drivers, this is an issue. That's a problem. But what is also an issue is we're asking and requiring people that we presume are impaired to make sound legal decisions, like, do you need a lawyer? Or do you want a lawyer, or anything along those lines? Or do you want to take this test? Or do you want to do this? Um, I'm not I'm not suggesting that we need to protect impaired drivers. What I'm suggesting is we need to protect people's legal rights. Um, you can make what you would call legal suicide decisions when you're impaired, and we hold those against you. You can't sign a contract while you're impaired and be held against you. We don't let that happen. You have to be sound mind. You have to be um, competent. You have to understand what you're signing and what you're agreeing to. So we don't allow that in contract law. But we do that when it comes to criminal law. We do that when it comes to traffic. We do that when it comes to suspected issues. So as I'm watching these videos, I'm like, who's there to help that person in that situation? And if they're being accused of being impaired, they're not competent to make legal decisions, even under the law. But yet here we are. Here we are. We're taking people who are, whatever's going on, they're not competent to make legal decisions, but we're letting them make legal decisions, and then we're holding them against them. So why don't we have paralegals like paramedics? The police are pulling somebody over immediately. Paralegal can be dispatched. Yellow lights on the car, not red and stuff, but yellow lights on the car, and legal shows up. They don't work for the police. They don't work for the um, yeah, they just don't work for the police. They don't really work for the state. They work for the person who's being touched by the legal system. I think this is necessary. I think we have to have a system where people feel like their legal rights are respected and they can be protected, even when they're at their worst. And again, I'm not suggesting that we are trying to assist impaired drivers to be impaired drivers. I'm just highlighting that even impaired drivers have legal rights, and those are vitiated on the spot on the side of the road, and completely ignored the fact that they're not competent enough to make legal decisions, and yet they're going to have to suffer the consequences of those legal decisions that they made at that time. And that's just one example. I think we can have paralegal for various things, not just traffic stops. And if we did that, we could have a lot more faith in the system. People can believe the system is working for them, not against them, because it's supposed to. right? We're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but that's really, with my experience on both sides of the legal system, I represent defendants, I represent plaintiffs, uh, had to represent criminal matters, lots of civil. It's truly not. It's said, we all say that we want to be innocent until proven guilty, but the system is very difficult for people who are accused. So I'd like to find ways to assist with that, and I think paralegals could be a way to bring that confidence in the justice system back to the citizens who have to be interfaced with that system. Um, we do it for certain things, but we don't do it for all stuff. So I reached out to Danielle. I'm trying to connect with her justice department and to see if they have plans for that in the future, if I can assist in any way. Being a paralegal in the Ontario system allowed me to see how that worked, and I'd be happy to share that experience with Alberta. It would take some time, but the sooner we start, the sooner we get it. So I've reached out for that one. Not getting much action yet there, John. But Danielle, if you're listening or if your staff is listening, let's just sit down and chat. We don't have to do it on camera first. Let's get to know each other. But I would love to have Danielle, and I have some very direct questions about what she truly plans to do with globalism. John, you got another one from your independent candidate status is unique. People will be drawn to your individual point of view rather than the distant party platform. Thanks, John. And you know what? I'm drawn to that. I'm drawn to people like that as well. You can get some fancy hair, get some makeup, and tote the party line, and you can get elected. That's the easy way if that's what you want to do. But that's not democracy. That's not how our system was developed. Our system was developed to be representing the people and have the support from the people, not the party. You should be elected into the seat because the people want you there, not because the party wants you there. It's going to be a long road, John, but it starts at one. And I believe Alberta and even my particular riding, Yellowhead, is uniquely positioned to be able to have that kind of outcome where an independent candidate, whether in the party or outside of the party, is independent, stays independent, and pushes forward a modern approach to the party platform. And another one, John, the sign is up in Alberta, and you're not wearing plaid. John, I'm sorry. I do have, look, it's now hot, okay, and my plaid is hot. So I got to find a button-down plaid version, okay? So I'm looking for it, John. So today you got denim. Denim. You got denim today. But look, I'm going to keep you on your toes, John. Keep you coming back. Check out what Jay's wearing, all right? Another one, John. Nice guys finish last. My boy Jace has an intellectual chop to do real business for Yellowhead. Yeah, and nice guys don't always finish last. I would say quiet guys finish last. Non-passionate guys will finish last. But John, through my career, I've always been the guy who would get you're not supposed to get that done. I'll give you an example, John. Law school. Okay. It's a 2-year commitment for a paralegal. But I doubled down and I worked with the school and I worked with the Law Society of Ontario. It was called the Law Society of Upper Canada at the time, but it's now the Law Society of Ontario, to allow me to double my workload and go ahead and get myself into the exam. The exam at the paralegal, I think it was 3 times a year, once in the first half of the year and then twice in the second half of the year. That could have changed by now. But at that time, my schedule would have taken me like 2 weeks past the deadline to apply for the sitting in February of 2017. So I recognized that really early. Timing wasn't lining up. So I started writing letters. I'm like, look, I'm willing to do the work. I can spend extra evenings. I will do what I need to do, but I want to get into that February exam. And immediately I was told no. Multiple times I was told no by the school. I was told no by the Law Society. They're all polite about it, but it was all about how their procedure works. But I wrote enough letters and I was convincing enough that I eventually got a response that said, look, if your school's willing to, and they will commit to letting you take these courses, in addition to what you're currently taking so you can finish faster, all right, you can sit it. And then 9 other classmates got that privilege as well because I was able to do that. So my approach the entire time wasn't let Jason do it. My approach the entire time was let anybody who's willing to put in the extra work do it, because that allows us to get into the workforce about 6 months sooner. Because if you pass exam, you're done. You don't have to wait for the later sitting. So several of us did. Some of them might be listening to the show right now. So you have about half a dozen that actually took up that offer and followed through with it. So there's about a half a dozen paralegals who were 6 months earlier into the system because of the persistence, even though I was told, no, we're not going to do that. So, John, that's the type of guy I am. I'll write letters. I'll be persistent. I'll be I'm not aggressive, but I'm certainly persistent. So I think that's what Yellowhead has always wanted. It's the type of people that we have here, especially as we're going to be doing some rebuilding after these fires. I'm very proud to be here, and I think that we keep on with this messaging and we stay genuine to what we're doing, and we'll definitely get the right attention, and we'll definitely be able to make advancements in our goals here, John. And Eleanor, she's giving us a thumbs up. She's liking what she's hearing. So thank you for joining us nice and early. Then John's asking, sovereignty versus separation. I am not for separation. I am 100% for sovereignty. We have sovereignty. We've always had sovereignty. This takes us back to section 81 and 82 of the Constitution. Sorry, 81 and 91. Sorry, guys, I've been off for a little bit. 81 or 91. We got to get back to it. It's simply put, we wrote the rights and the jurisdictions for both federal and provincial party or governments, and we just simply have not been sticking to it on both levels. The federal government oversteps all the time. Healthcare is one of them for sure, and the provincial government steps on them all the time. Gun ownership would be an example of that. Property ownership, property rights. So look, John, we got a lot of work on that one. Separation, I say it's not off the table. Like as soon as you take all your options or you take your options off the table, you start to lose options and leverage. But I don't think separation is where we should be, but it might be where we end up. I would like to see sovereignty first. We have these documents that we created for the purpose of governing ourselves. It's really a people governed system that provided some requirements on the provincial and federal government to govern certain things that didn't really fit with the people, but we don't have that. So what I'd like to see, John, is the sovereignty movement continue. So that's an independent Alberta within the unity of Canada, and that is where I currently stand. And I think we can do that, but we definitely have a lot of resistance from the cities and the NDP party and the media. So, John, this is also going to be something that we touch a bit on Thursday in depth as well when we do the Alberta election stuff, because this is one of the big issues. There's a very big push for separation, and it's been that way for a long time. And we've seen that in Quebec as well. Very big push for separation. But what Quebec's been able to do with their push for separation is actually get some concessions out of Ottawa that other provinces don't have. So that's why I say you don't take it off the table. It needs to stay on the table. It needs to be an option. But ideally, it's a never executed option, because I do believe our country is wonderful when we work together, and we really should continue to work together because this world is really trying to globalize. And if we are not unified on the non-global agenda, you're going to see us join that party and that platform very quickly. And I'm not happy about that. And we're definitely going to get into that under Wednesday. So under Wednesday, with enough already, we'll be talking about a lot of the new things coming out of the WF. Mr. Schwab, he's still at it. And our government is playing along with it, federal and provincial level. All right, Eleanor, combined with the witness aspect, it would be an awesome protection against biased police, etc. 100%. So as we see all over the place, Eleanor, as soon as a camera comes out, people change. This is something that I showed the cameraman, my buddy Ray. He came with me to the conference, and I said, "Look, we're going to go up to this checkpoint, and you'll see how their attitude changes as soon as the camera comes out." Now, look, I'm not coming down on these people, but Eleanor, when there's a witness, people think twice and three times sometimes. And if there's enough witnesses seeing events that are reported incredible and the events are illegal, we can't have a crown who continues to ignore that. So I think it's a two-pronged approach, Eleanor. First is to teach people how to be good witnesses, and then the second one is to assist people in filing private prosecutions. So in Canada, private prosecutions is the ability for a citizen to raise a charge on someone without the police involvement. So it's a way to go straight to the crown. Now, to be successful at it is very difficult, but not impossible at all. To be successful at it, you have to have good evidence, you have to have a good case, you have to bring it together, you have to do the job of the police, you have to investigate, you have to get the names, you have to bring it all together. And then you present it to the crown, and the crown reviews the package, at least they're supposed to, and put it forward and do something with it. My idea is a little bit grander in that if we could consolidate witnesses and we can get good, credible witnesses out there and get their testimonies and get their statements, and we help produce the private prosecution package, the PPP, and we also help filter out frivolous stuff. Like, we don't want the crown to be desensitized by all of these reports. We want them to really get the meaty ones, the ones that really have some substance to it. And then we keep presenting these in a public manner, by the way. We would be putting these on a website. We'd be telling people when we sent it to the crown, and we would provide the PDF as well that has the entire private prosecution package that's being presented. Under that approach, I don't think the crown could ignore it for long. So if we're having lewd and inappropriate and illegal activities with our children at certain events, um, if they're unreported properly, and the only thing the crowns are working on are protesters who are potentially hate speech or something else along those lines, and making the crown feel like they need to protect the performance instead of the protesters, well, then we're not going to get very far. We're not going to get very far. The headline's going to be protester did this, protester did that, anti-protester did this, anti-protester did that. And that's not going to even change the progress of the agenda. The agenda, in fact, they're getting the attention they want, and they're also getting the message out to potential protesters that you should stay away. So that's the wrong messaging completely. And that's the wrong messaging coming out of our crown attorney, crown's office, because you are discouraging proper protesters from protesting. Now, with that said, we certainly need protesters, and we need to keep every front going. We need political pressure, we need protest pressure, we need civil pressure, but I also think we need some more legal, criminal pressure, and that's where witnesses will come in. So, Eleanor, if we can train enough people to be calm, relaxed, even in the face of some traumatic things that they might see, it might be very difficult to see somebody doing a performance in front of an innocent. But the bigger picture is, if we can be credible and get this information to the proper authorities, and they are motivated properly in order to follow through on it, then we actually might start seeing some movement on this. Um, Immediately, I can tell you one of the statutes or regulations that I do think we need is no-go zones. So we have laws for adult entertainment and establishments, and liquor licenses are usually tied to them. But we also have a no minors allowed requirement. So that is you don't bring your children to this type of law. We also need the reverse of that. Unfortunately, we need to designate certain areas as non-adult performing areas. You can't have adult performances here. And it's going to sound silly to say it, but no adult performances at libraries or children's schools. It sounds silly to have to say that, but we need that. It seems that some people are not understanding that that's not right, and they are the hosts of that. I'm going to take the performer and put them to the side for a bit because I think the fight on the performer is a moot one. I think the fight on the performer is exactly what the performer wants. They want the attention and they want to argue about that because that allows them to name call you and put phobias on that. But if we put the attention on the establishment, the hosts, and the guests, the people who are going to them, and the way we can do that is by witnessing what's going on and then reporting what's going on. So if there's a host who is putting on one of these shows in a place where lewd and obscene behavior happens, it gets reported. The credible witness reports it, jots it down, what happened. There's multiple witnesses, they're all credible. Then we'll see some action. Okay, Eleanor, so that's kind of the Coles Note version of where we're headed with this, but I'll have a lot more on that for you tomorrow, Eleanor. Basically, the whole show tomorrow is about the bearing witness movement. I guess we can call it a movement because it is my intention to teach people how to be law-abiding, credible, safe, respectable witnesses. And it's under that umbrella that I really think we can make some change. Ellen, I just saw you. Good morning, Ellen. And don't be sorry to be late. I'm sorry I'm so dark. Okay, this is our first show. I learned a big lesson about backlighting, and we have a beautiful sun coming up, but I will be moving myself for the next show. But Ellen, thank you so much for coming back. It's really great to see so many of you coming back. I'm sure we're a little bit early for Railroad, but she may be popping up at any time too. All right. And Clay, good morning. Thanks for saying hi to Ellen. You guys all remember each other. That's awesome. Should provincial and federal judges be elected? Should all lawyers begin their careers as Crown Counsel? Your thoughts? Two awesome questions. Actually, first, I'm going to highlight another one, John. Federal judges and judges themselves, not justices. So in Ontario, you have justices and judges. Judges have to be lawyers. I don't agree with that. That creates a closed circuit. That creates a supreme profession. That creates a closed club. Okay, I don't think judges should be. I don't think you have to be a lawyer. I think you should be nominated, and there should be a process to get you in there, but not make it as a requirement you have to be a lawyer. I also feel the same way about bilingualism. So any federal leadership level, bilingualism should be scrapped. That should not be a requirement for any leaders. We're in a modern times. It's great if you can speak both languages, but only 12% of Canada does. That leaves way too many Canadians off the table as potential leaders. So that should be gone. To directly answer your question, though, John, that's a tough one. When you get into elected positions for anything with power. So in the States, they do elect judges in some jurisdictions. They do elect their sheriffs. They do that. What you end up with, though, sometimes, and certainly not all the time, but sometimes, is politics gets involved in the judicial system. So you have judges making decisions or prosecutors making decisions based on the electability of them. So whether or not they're going to be electable. Here's an example, and it's not a Canadian one, but it's because the U.S. does do the elections that I have to go there. But in Chicago or Illinois, you had a DA there, elected, as elected DA, who did not prosecute Jussie Smollett, Juicy Smollett, as Dave Chappelle would say. And that was likely political pressure. There was very democratic area. And because political pressure was involved in the legal, with a person in the legal system, you're not getting justice anymore. You had to get more pressure on their office in order to put a special prosecutor in place and to go take another look at that. And it turns out, he was convicted. So in that scenario, that DA was making political decisions, not judicial or decisions for the justice. That's my concern with that one, John. If they're elected, are they pampering or pandering to political? Or see, that's where I'm worried about it. What I do think we should do is judicial reviews. We should be able to make a process where we can review their stuff a little bit more. Um, I've been giving this one some thought too, John, because we need better judges. I know that we have some judges in Ontario that are very left leaning, and some of their decisions are clearly bias based and not legal based. And basically, you can just search for Tamara Litch, and you're going to find all the examples I'm talking about on that one. That's pretty harsh what's going on there, and those are being done by the judges. Um, Also, though, John, at the same time, we want to be careful not to create a system that penalizes judges, because then they're going to start kowtowing to that. They're going to be worried about being penalized instead of doing justice. So there's no magic bullet on that particular side of it, John, in my opinion, other than if we see corruption or we see incompetence or we see something else that shouldn't be going on. I guess as witnesses, this is where we can start having more of an impact. Being able to report bad judges or occasions where judges did make mistakes or problems outside of like appeals, but more direct on their actions. I would be for it as long as it's not something that can be, I guess, leveraged or um, used in such a way that we only have a certain type of judge in there. Tough question, John. The second part of your question, should all lawyers begin their careers as crown counsel? Your thoughts? I would say, like, if what you're suggesting is they have to, I would say no, only because not everybody is competent enough to be a prosecutor, even if you finish law school. There's so many types of law, and not all of it's criminal, of course. Some of it's civil, trademark, copyright. So anybody going into any of those, it would make no sense to give them that. But I think if you're a smart lawyer and you definitely want to be a competent and a very capable lawyer, then yeah, that's something you should consider doing. And that's exactly how I started my law career too. So when I got my license, the very first application I did was to be a municipal prosecutor in the town of Cornwall for the county of United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, Glengarry. I didn't get the job, fresh out of school, and they brought back a senior prosecutor. But my idea there was I want to see it from the inside. I want to understand how the crown works. I want to see how the, procedures work. And I did end up getting that because I ended up working for the United Counties in the IT department. But it did allow me to, see the software they're using, what kind of procedures they have, how do they tackle tickets, what goes on in the courtroom, how do they record things. And of course, because I was a paralegal, I was in courtrooms often as well. So I was seeing it from the litigator side of the table. So that was a good experience. I really wanted to have more experience in a prosecutor's office, but that wasn't available to me. But John, I see where you're going with this. And I do think if you want to be an effective lawyer, especially in the criminal aspect of things, doing a year or two in a prosecutor's office is a good idea. Crown counsel is a good idea. But not everybody will be accepted. And if your plan is to go in there for a bit and then leave, that's going to leave a lot of turnover in the prosecution's offices. And we certainly do want competent and capable prosecutors as well. Okay, another comment from John. Can you touch on the belief in the separation of church and state? Ooh. I think that's more of a philosophy in the United States. I know that we have some religion in Canada. We're not as intertwined as the States. But I think that's more of a John, you have the best questions, and these are great to get out. Okay, so I go to church. I am an usher. I take that stuff seriously. I commit myself to my faith, and I definitely I use that to help my community, and it keeps me level ground, like my feet on the ground. It keeps me level headed, and but at the same time, I'm also politically motivated, and I'm also intellectually, I am like a scientist, right? I'm a computer scientist. I definitely believe in realism. I rational. I like all that, and sometimes it could be difficult to um, with my religious and faith side to you know they don't overlap everywhere. There's some things that contradict and they don't necessarily line up. With all that said, faith is very important to me, and I do believe that people should be able to follow their faith. Whether or not we intertwine that with politics, John. You know what, John? I'm going to ask you to come on the show for this one. We didn't plan any guests this week, but John, if this is something that you can get up for early on sometime next week, let's get you in on this show, because I also want to see where you dislike or like the involvement of church and state. One thing I was not happy about was during the lockdowns, how it seemed like the faith was being attacked. You know, people people should be able to make their own decision on where they go and who they hang out with and what they do with their time. But having churches locked down, and I know that in New York it was really tough. Um, I think that shouldn't have happened. That was an overstep as well. But John, I'm going to take this question back. I'm going to do a little bit more research in Canada on this one and have a better answer for you. And if you can join me on the show, that'll be wonderful, John, because these are good questions you have, my friend. And if you guys don't remember, John, I believe, John, you're an ex-police officer, and you have great insight on this stuff. And you're one of two people that's ever called me Jace and continued to do so. So love you for that, buddy. All right, so I'm just going through my notes here because we don't have a lot of time left. Holy smokes, this goes by quick, and as you can see, the sun is definitely rising, so we're getting somewhere with that sun now. Okay, and John says yes. Send me the connection to your show. I'm all over that, bad boy. Bad boy. That's awesome. Okay, John. We will coordinate with you. You may hear from Ali. You may hear from me. But we will get you a link and we'll get you on one of the shows. And if you have a particular day you can't do, let me know. Otherwise, we'll try and find one of the days next week for you. And then if anybody else listening, if you'd like to join and have your say as well, more than happy to talk to you, especially if you have conflicting views of mine, because I really want to understand where your views are coming from as well. And if they're conflicting, then we got something to talk about, don't we? So for Alberta, I'm going to get back to more election stuff this week. And if there's more wildfire news that comes up, I'll report that as well. But right now, it looks like we're just waiting for them to start allowing people back into Drayton Valley and people getting home. They may be getting back home maybe at the end of this week. We'll see. But I also want to say thanks to the family that's staying with us. They did a lot of sacrificing the last 2 days to let me set up in this trailer. This is where half the family was staying. So if you're listening, you guys are awesome. We love you. Thank you so much for your sacrifices as well to let me get back on track. We did try and do this show last week, but it was not happening. I would have had to have done it from a motel or something. I would have had to find a way to get some space. So to the family, I'm going to keep you private for now, but thank you so much. You guys are wonderful. Oh, Ellen's got some comment here. Let me go back to Ellen. Ellen, you're always spurring on the good stuff. Separation of church and state is the U.S. gets twisted. Prob, same in Canada, is to keep government from mandating the religion. It's also to stop government from coming after you because of your religion. So because you have a belief in something, they can't come after you. Yeah, I'm gonna sit on this one a little bit more, Ellen and John, and we're gonna come back to this one because I feel unprepared for church and state. If you want to get into global, we'll talk about them, but I'll come back to that. Oops, sorry, pushed the button too many times. Let me just remind everybody to go ahead and put your comments down below. I'm going to use these graphics that Ali made me. Put your comments down below and make sure that you have your say. And don't forget to chat as well. When we are working on this, we actually have the chats going at the same time. Hey, Peter's back. Welcome back, Peter. Thank you so much. Quietly listening along, loving the smart conversation as always. Peter, thank you so much. Your check's in the mail as well, buddy. Thank you all for coming back. And I'm just going to, keep doing my thing, and we'll keep improving, I'm sure, or mandating the lack of religion. Yeah. And look, I completely understand why some people have religion and don't have religion. For me, I was born into a religious environment. I wouldn't say family, but I was going to say environment. And then I lost it for a while. And then in 2012, we had lots of family trauma, and deaths way early and stuff like that, which was very difficult. 2012, the last quarter of 2012 was very difficult. And that's where I found myself back in faith. It was a lot of challenge for me as the oldest, and it was my mother that was very ill. It was two siblings that we lost. So that was tough. That was tough. But I found myself back into faith. You can handle in faith. You believe you're handed what you can handle. You're never going to be unable to handle what you got. So that helped me, and understanding that I'm I can do it. Got me out of that funk, and here we are, 11 years later. We're as strong as ever, and now we're doing our best to bring some change to other people as well. And I'm glad, Peter, I got you giggling already first thing in the morning. So I'm hoping you do that. And Peter, where are you? Are you in Ontario? I can't quite remember whereabouts you are. I do have a lot of people who are listening from that side of the country. So this is why I coordinated an 8 a.m. show for you guys. That's why I'm getting up nice and early for you. So you guys have that morning drive if you have it. Azari, sorry, couldn't contribute more this AM, busy with project updates. Totally cool, Azari. No need to apologize, my friend. You already have a lot of points in the bank, my friend. When you took over that co-hosting when I was in Ontario, you really, really made the show what it is today. So thank you, Azario. And also, by the way, I forgot to leave behind some swag for you. I brought it for you on the second time going out there, and I didn't get it to you. My bad. All right, so I do have some notes here about Canada with the Chinese diplomat Zhao Wei, but I'm not prepared to go into that one. I think we're going to run out of time. I might come back to it if we have some time, but I want to chat with you guys a little bit about ChatGPT, AI. That's exploded over the last 4 months since we've been offline. And I've definitely met people who are on both sides of that debate. So if you have any opinions on ChatGPT or AI in general and what's going on with it recently, I'm down to talk about that one. My background is tech. I definitely have been working with it. There's no doubt that I've subscribed to it. In that, I want to check it out as a tool and what it can do. Um, it it is at first incredibly, I would say, impressive, but when you spend lots of time with it, you learn that it still has a long way to go. So for some of the people who are very close to me who are worried that, this is the beginning of Skynet and stuff like that, I still think we're a little ways away. My recommendation to you would be to try it. If you talk to it long enough, you'll realize how unintelligent it is. It's just a language model which predicts the next word it's going to say. What I did find it's good for is it's very helpful for making YouTube descriptions. It's very helpful for writing. Okay, I utilized it when I was writing my book. It's very good for research. Okay, it's very good for organizing. One thing I found it really neat at is if you give it like your thoughts, like if you write down a whole bunch of thoughts on what you want to talk about, and then you say, is there anything else I should add? It's actually pretty good at finding a little bit of holes in your presentation and offering suggestions on what you can do to expand it. And that's because it's got such a vast array of essays and other written documents in its data set that it kind of will let you know what you're kind of missing. So there's, I think, two or three chapters of the book. There's 16 of them, but two or three chapters of the book were inspired by a recommendation from ChatGPT. The rest of it, of course, worked hard on it, but I found it was okay for that. It's excellent at creative writing. Okay, if you want truth and honesty, it's not coming from that. Okay, the very first thing it tells you when you start to use it is it's going to be inaccurate and wrong, and that is 100% true. That's the first thing it's right about. It's going to be wrong. Um, so if you're looking for creative writing, you're looking for things to be made up. It's a wonderful tool for that. But at the same time, that's where the challenge comes in. If you plan to use it as your research and only, you're in trouble because it's going to make things up. I had so many times where I actually argued basically with this chat GPT thing about being providing me misinformation, and you know, you're running the risk of being disinformation too. Um, there's a lot of reports on how to find out its bias, and I have noticed it does have a strong left bias. But why are you using ChatGPT for bias? Right? Why are you using ChatGPT for bias? You should have your own bias. Use it for research and information, but don't follow it as gospel. But it's an excellent tool for certain things. If you know what to use it for and you accept it for just that, it'll be handy. For example, if you want a poem, it'll make you a poem. You want to do a song, it'll make you a song. But you want to solve world issues, don't go there. You're going to get very skewed and bad information. But just like any tool, a hammer can hurt people too. Bang it on your head, you're done. So tools are tools, and they're as good as the person using them and the persons that make them. And right now, these are still humans. Oh, and it's also good at code. Okay, so I'm not gonna throw any shade on that one. Um, as part of my coding project, which we'll get into at another day, I definitely been using that for code. It has allowed me to be a faster programmer, but not a better programmer. So if you're going to be using ChatGPT to do your homework, you're going to be doing yourself a very big disservice. But if you use ChatGPT to help you pick up subjects and learn, then you might be a little bit more successful at it. For example, one of the challenges I had on my programming, and Azario might relate with this one as well, because he does some stuff in the cloud as well, was using a browser-based web scraper because I want to be able to get information from a website. And I'm also limiting myself to a particular type of functionality called Azure Functions for scaling financial reasons. But there's lots of, and it required me to learn a programming language called Rust. And if you're been around for as long as I have, picking up a new language quickly is always, achievable, but it takes some time. With ChatGPT, though, I was able to learn that subject matter a lot faster. I was able to give it the incorrect terms, and it would tell me the correct terms. So, for example, when I'm writing code, I will be using C sharp terms, or uh, yeah, mostly C sharp, and then it will give me the equivalent in Rust, and then I can understand its version of it and be efficient in it. So, as a way to learn, it's pretty good there, but do watch out for the misinformation that could become disinformation. Uh, but overall, I think AI is here. Okay. When I first started to use ChatGPT back in, I want to say December, because I did get early access to it. Um, I got the feeling that this is why we made computers and this is why we have the internet, was to eventually get to this tool. Now, at the same time, you have people like Elon Musk and others who are warning about um, AI, but at the same time, they're building their own AI. Elon has announced his Truth GPT, which is, his version of GPT without the biases. We'll see. Okay, so this will be a topic you're going to hear a lot about on this show, because in my work where I'm building software, this is all over the place for me right now. And I'm also I got accepted by Microsoft to be a founding partner in my project. So they're supporting me on access to technology that I don't have to pay for, because I couldn't afford it even if I wanted to. But it has allowed me to start developing out my platform, and I'm now on phase 2 with them. And I do appreciate the fact that I have that access, but I'm also very cautious that I'm dealing with big tech, and I'm playing with their tools, and you know Someone's got to get in there and see what these guys are up to and understand what they're doing and see what we can leverage and benefit from, and then what we also should be cautious and wary of. So some of that is also going to be on this show over the next little bit. Okay, so Peter's in Niagara. Yeah, okay, I thought so. Ontario. I got a lot of people in Ontario that are checking out this show. That's awesome. The swag is in the mail. Yeah, actually, not a bad idea there, but I do have to place another order, get some more stuff. So I got to take care of you. You took care of me. I got to take care of you. And it's creepy. AI is creepy. Yeah, Ellen, it is. It is. And that is some of the first feelings you get for sure. Yeah, the goosebumpy thing. Especially at how quick it is. Being a software guy, I understand indexes and databases and searching and consolidating data. This stuff is pretty incredible what they've done, and it's only going to get more scary, Ellen. But one way to tackle that is to demystify it, to understand it better. At this stage, Ellen, it is still dumb. It is still dumb. It can be impressive, but it is very dumb. It's not. I don't feel threatened in my job in any way, shape, or form as software or politics or writing, but I certainly can see how not knowing it and not touching it can lead to lots of concerns around it. I have a really good friend who's very concerned about it, so we talk about that a lot. I'm not like, look, I don't want to give the impression that I am pushing the technology. I certainly want to understand it better, and I think the more that we understand, the better we can deal with the challenges that are going to come up. For example, I can see in the very near future they using AI to do judgments. Okay, and part of me says, well, if we're removing the human bias, that might be a good thing. But another piece tells me that it's not always that black and white, and you certainly will need some interpretation of the law. You'll need some discretion, and I'm not sure how AI will do that. But if you remember, I think the movie was Judge Dredd or something like that, where they were showing how, was it Judge Dredd or was it Fifth Element? Might have been that one, where they would judge you at the door. They'd be like, "Hey, here's what we're accusing you of," and then there would be a judge, and then you're done. That scares me, okay? Because that's like accelerated due process. And one thing I can tell you is when humans move fast and do things quick, they mess up a lot. So I'd like to, kind of be at the early grounds of how AI and law is going to be used. And also, that's how I got early access, because when I applied for that early access, um, I was talking about how we need to examine AI and the law and how they're going to be working together. It does pretty good Python code. Absolutely, Azario. Python, it seems to be the language it loves the most. If you ask it for code and you don't tell it a language, it spits out Python. But what I also like about it is if you have code in another language, Azario, it will translate it quite well, quite well. But back to the creative writing part of it, Azario, it will make up functions. It will make up methods that don't exist. It will even call it clever names and make you go, oh, that's exactly what I'm looking for. But it's a non-existent thing. It's very creative, even when you tell it not to be. It acknowledges it, but will create some more. So you do have to still have a human brain in order to be efficient with AI at this stage. And Azario, another thing I'm doing that you might be very interested in, and you may want to get involved with me, is offline GPT. So we're installing Alpaca. We're playing with the one out of Meta, Lambda. We're playing with that one as well, and GPT for all is another one to take a look at. Azario, the reason for that is training. I want to be able to train it with my data sets. And one of the data sets I want to train it on is the POEC transcripts and evidence, all of it. I want to get the entire thing into a GPT so that we can look for inconsistencies and use it to help us analyze it. One of the things that they kind of did with the Public Order Emergency Commission was overwhelmed us with lots of information. And you saw that happen during the events itself, where thousands of pages were dropped by the government at the last minute, and nobody had time to go through it, yada yada. Um, I'm putting some of my time aside, Azario, to train AI to go through all of that. It might be, a fool's errand, but I want to see what comes out of it. I quite literally want to say, can you find all the inconsistencies in the previous testimonies from Justin? And from what I've seen with ChatGPT, and if it's well trained so far, I think we could get meaningful results. In addition to that, I also want this to help power our private prosecution package creation. So as we are going forward with this whole witness thing and assisting people in making the private prosecution packages, AI will be an assistant with that. We'll train it. It's going to have our data sets. It's going to understand what we're looking for. We'll have the criminal code in there. We'll have case law in there, specific for jurisdictions that we're dealing with. So we can get some really excellent information out of it. But that's a longer term project over the next few quarters there, Azario. So if you're interested in getting behind that, happy to get you involved. I know you got the tech side. It's not cloud. We're going to be on-prem, off cloud, so that we always have access to it and it can't be deleted from us. But anyways, I do plan on trying to use AI and put it to work on our mission, which is to review what we've done here in Canada and raise prosecutions when we need to. So it may be a far-fetched there, Rosario, but that's the kind of guy I am. I want to use this tech as much as I can and find ways to hold people accountable. That's kind of my thing. I'm that hall monitor type of dude where we all function better when we have the same rules and we're all held accountable. And right now, there's multiple rules for thee and not for me. So we're going to work on that some more, Rosario. So hit me up if you're interested in that. Ellen, it also seems to be smart as stormtroopers scared but dumb. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like if you get into it, Ellen, you first start to surrender your intelligence to it because you're like, holy, this thing knows everything. Don't pause your own intelligence, especially when you're using this. You definitely want to keep your common sense because this thing will quickly misinform you. It's programming, right? Who needs to be pushed in a certain direction programming, but it does. Like it will push Python and it will push incorrect information quite often, actually. So it's a tool. If you use a hammer backwards, you're not going to be functional. If you don't know how to use a hammer, you're going to get hurt. So AI is the same way. So I'm spending a lot of time in it. I've actually had like heated arguments with the AI. It definitely has an ideology that's very blue pilled. So Azario's right here. You can ask it stuff about, for example, Trudeau even, and it will be very flattering. But it's not going to talk bad about him. In fact, if you try to, it will kind of scold you that it's a tool that's meant to provide information, not to attack political people. Ironically enough, right? John, back to John. The Ontario listenership is a hint chase. Canadians are looking for truth from what you say. Go with that, my brother. You have the gift of being articulate and well, John, you're a good guy. Thank you so much for those awesome comments. And I'm telling you, especially if you're listening to Alberta, Ontario is full of really good people. They just have some representation which are tough. They're really tough. Like people like John, and we've got Peter, and we've got Azario. Like so many people from here are in Ontario. But yeah, I think you're right, John. I think people want some common sense. They want some rationale. They don't want to be yelled at. They don't want to have to worry about their kids being in a room. But they definitely want to have intelligent conversations and they want to get deep. So if that's what you're looking for, this is what I'm trying to provide to you because this is the show I want to listen to too. I canceled my Crowder subscription. We'll get into maybe that if you want to at some point, but I don't think your public life should be mixed with your private life, and I don't think attacking somebody you loved or said you loved is a good idea. So keep up the fight. I think we need all the fronts we can get. Crowder is a very vocal, loud person. He's certainly making some headway. Um, but you're more than welcome to tune into him when my show's done. It's kind of why I'm preceding him, so that if you are a big fan, and I was, then you can still absorb both of them. But if you want to, wake up gently, this is where you come. And we'll be talking about tough issues, but we'll be doing it in such a way that you don't have to worry about anybody overhearing it, and not going to get loud on you all of a sudden, hopefully. I have another tech comment. Finally got Starlink owning on 3 weeks. I hope you got Gen 2. Like if you got the square one, the rectangle one, you got the Gen 2, and that's a great one. I got the Gen 1 because early adopter, and it's still holding up. Still holding up, but yeah, I couldn't do any of this without Starlink. We still don't have internet from any other provider out here. So hopefully the Canadian government and Elon can stay mutually nice and they don't do anything about that. But I do know that Elon has pushed the Canadian government a few times, and with Bill C-11 and other things coming down the pipe, I hope this is not an issue for me going forward. And by the way, we'll speak about Bill C-11 and all of that stuff, because it's passed now, it's law now, in the coming shows. But my analysis of it is I'm not concerned for this show, because this show is already heavily Canadian content. If you were like a Viva Fry, where you are far more American content now, well, then maybe you'll have issues. And if you are searching for a global audience as a Canadian, you may have issues with C-11, because C-11 makes it difficult for Canadian content creators like me to take on global issues and ignore Canadian issues. So if you are trying to get a global audience, C-11 could also be a problem for you. Fortunately for me, I think C-11 might help, because I believe this content is going to get pushed, because it's going to be demanded by the government that content like mine is pushed to Canada. So, I'm sad about the fact that the government's manipulating YouTube in that kind of way. But from my standpoint, as a Canadian content creator for Canadians, there's actually going to be an advantage for me. That is part of why they do that. I don't ask for that advantage, but if it's there and it helps me get the message out, I will benefit from that advantage. Now, with that said, okay, because I want to be open and upfront with you about where I'm actually coming from. I hate it. Okay. Anytime the government tells you what you can and can't do, what you should and shouldn't do, especially when it comes to information, I hate it. But this is another one of those, we're going to have to work with what we've got or nothing. Okay. So I think you would prefer me to be on air navigating that complicated C-11 issue and stay on air than not be on air. So we'll have some good conversations around what I don't like about it, which is basically the entire thing. But we're going to leverage it, and we're going to take advantage of any additional traffic that we get, because we're doing Canadian content for Canadians. I feel really sad for my other content creators who are trying to reach a larger market, or content creators who want to reach the Canadian market. It's going to be difficult for you, more difficult for you. But look, this is why I'm in this, right? We can identify things we don't like, and then we're going to do our best to try and make sure that we can make some change. And this will certainly be something. I'm very sad with my senators on this one. Okay. I totally understand why the House of Commons, the House of Professional Political People, why they are able to push this through. But I'm very sad with my senators. So many of you are independent senators, and still you didn't do independent on this one. I reached out to several of them to try and give them an opinion from content creator, Canadian content creator, technologist, legal guy, to try and get them to understand how this is imposing. This is a step towards a similar environment that they have in China, where the internet's basically local, it's not global. And that's kind of where I think C-11 will be pushing us when it comes to news. Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, all of them have been pushing hard, because Google even been pushing hard, because it really changes their business model as well. So we're going to see how this, pans out. This is the world we live in. We don't have to like it, but we for the most part have to find a way to live with it so that we can continue to get our messages out. I'm feeling hypnotized by all of this so-called digital culture, gaming, anime, chat, GPT, and they all install perceptions of a kind, but to what end? Programming, Peter. Programming. Programming of the human mind has been around forever. They used books for it, then they used radio for it, then they used TV for it, then the internet, now intelligent internet. It's for programming. If people are opening themselves up to it, it's going to work. People like us who have filters to understand that we have our own mindset, not so much. Um, I don't think it's meant to give us a perfect world, because there's no such thing. There's no such thing as utopia. I know that a lot of people think we'll get there, but no such thing. We'll keep talking about this one, Peter. Digital voting, digital currency, those two are really, really pushing hard. I know the US is talking about centralized digital currency. Canada is going to be doing the same thing. Cash will be gone. We're going to have to talk about some of that, Peter. And as we saw with the convoy, accounts can be frozen. So if everything's digital, that's even more control. So we'll have to get in some more of that, Peter. That may be coming into, let me look again here, enough already. So on Wednesday, we might talk a lot more about that. Wednesday, I want to really get in deep into why I think it's time to say enough already and take some more actions. Okay. In the next episode, Jason reveals he is really AI and his show was deep faked. Well, we screwed up the lighting. So if that helps you any, Alan, then that will know. Then you'll know that AI probably would have done a better job than I did with the lighting. But I do use it for some research, and I do use it to keep myself a little bit organized. And by the way, if you ask AI what a good business opportunity is, it's going to tell you how to build tools that propagate AI. So it is self-propagating. Sorry, but if you think it isn't, it is, because it will encourage you and give you business plans and help you with marketing plans on how to build AI assistants. It's kind of creepy that that's what the first thing it told me to build was something that made it propagate. I didn't, but it was kind of neat. I'm feeling slowly hypnotized. Oh, sorry, came back to that one. So Alan's got Gen 2. Okay, enjoy it. You got some good speeds there. Enjoy it. And I believe Azario got one too for his cabin as well. Yeah, there you go. Right there. Yeah, he got his last week. It's been great. Yeah. And we're getting close to the end. We got another 7 minutes left here. So I'm going to try and get to all your chats now. I'm listening while feeding chickens. That's even before getting an outdoor antenna. It's awesome, isn't it? Well, I think you got to Gen 2 just to have this show. So Ellen, thank you very much. And we got our second batch of chickens. We now have chickens. We started with 19 or 20. We now have 19 because we also got a pup, a young dog who got one. But Paula's been wonderful. The dog's been wonderful. We're going to keep that dog around, and it's going to learn how to protect the chickens now. And this is Dario. Love it. Cool. And Prairie's not here, but I still owe Prairie a view of our location and what we're doing here. So I'll be doing that at some point, Prairie. I'll use Ali to help me put a nice little video together, and we'll give you behind the shows of how this show is happening in the middle of nowhere and currently surrounded by wildfires. You are more global than you know. Cool, John. That's awesome. Certainly. But what's going to help me is my target is Canadians, but absolutely. I do get messages from all over the place, especially the States and the UK. A lot of people reaching out from the UK around, that vaccine stuff and some of the things that may or may not be coming out of living with it. So we'll be tackling that too. I got a really good friend in the UK who was harmed, and I'll bring him back. If you look at our previous stuff, you'll look up Wayne Cunningham, and you'll find an interview with him. But that's only on Rumble because YouTube took it down. They didn't like us talking about that. This can be done in time. It's time to do a Scottish thing and pick a fight. Yeah. So the fight I want to start is around bringing more witnesses into the justice system, encouraging people to go ahead and go to these events, do it the right way. You're no help to your family if you're in jail or you're facing criminal charges. You're no help to the movement or the progress. We certainly have people that need to do that to keep the pressure on, but we need additional people. Like we have to have multiple fronts here. We need additional people bringing truth forward through witnessing. And thanks, John, for those compliments again. How will we run our generators without fuel? How dare one believe and support in a fossil fuel new world order? Lots of stuff to talk about there too, there, Charlie. Um, we had to use a generator through winter. Our solar isn't like you can build your solar system to be able to handle the shortest day in winter and all your power needs, but then for the rest of the year, you have too much. You just have too much, and that way too much cost. So there's a balance, and we certainly do. And my producer, this is why I have one. It just reminded we are 4 minutes to go, and I got a couple things left to do here. So I'm going to speed up a little bit. And thank you, Ali. That's exactly what I want you to do, is keep me on time. By the way, I adore my gen and use it often in winters. And yeah, I do. Yeah. And our power always goes out and can't. Yeah. And we're becoming generator experts over here. We've been through 5 of them now. So I highly recommend don't get an El Cheapo, which is what we did, under $1,000. They wear out pretty quick. So we're looking at trying to find a way to get one of those whole home ones in because we need it for the house anyways. But it has warranties, 5-year warranties and stuff like that. But right now we've been lucky enough that I can maintain it and fix it as needed. But yeah, we need a generator in winter. And my last comment here, I think a late night podcast show for you, make it a wild 100% Canadian contact you can't lose. So my challenge, John, with a late night show is I have an early morning show. So a late night show at the end of the week. I think we want to keep that yacht club going, John. I don't want to drop that idea at all. I love that idea. I want to keep that going. But you're going to also find a very tired Jason if I'm doing the morning and an evening. So we'll look at a Friday evening yacht club roundup of the week type of thing. But the idea for the morning is more of the news and more of a regular thing for you. So you can put it on in your drive, put it on in your morning, have your coffee, and I hope you enjoy yourself on it. So Ali has reminded me to remind you, make sure you guys subscribe, give us a like, do all that fun stuff. This is a tech world. We got to play in it. And then one of the things we do is we got to build this audience up. Getting us up to 1,000 subscribers takes us to another milestone in YouTube that unlocks a lot of other tools. I'd love to be able to have the join button so you can kind of subscribe to this channel. We got to find ways to support the channel. So we'll be looking into those tools as well in the coming days. But for now, do your subscribe, do your like, tell your friends, share it, and we'll really appreciate it. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have a surprise for you tomorrow. I have a really, really good friend who has been sharing some music with me that he's been creating, and I'll introduce you to it tomorrow. But looks like we are going to be wrapping up here. And a reminder, go ahead and make some comments, put some comments in there. All of that stuff helps a lot. And give some love to Ali, who's been working all day, all night to do his best to get these graphics to us and get the studio set up. We got lots of work, Ali, to do still. We're going to do better and better every single day. And Ali's reminding me I got 1 minute to go. So on that note, Ali, thank you so much. And to everybody else out there, thank you for coming back. Thank you for bearing with me as I work out the last 4 months. Thank you for being inspiration to come back. So many of you contacted me through Twitter and Facebook, email even. I was getting contacted. Comments all over the place. Where's Jay? Was he Epstein? Things like that were going around. It was very flattering. And as an Albertan who's just trying to do my thing, I love it. And I have somebody walking into the studio. which I wish they didn't. Yeah. Oh, sorry. All right. So I'm going to wrap up here. We're now 8 o'clock. So thank you all for coming back. We're going to see you all in the morning. Love you all and God bless.